All right, we're super stoked for this because this man joined us to kick off the NBA regular season. I think it's pretty apropos that he's going to join us to kick off the postseason. He's the voice of the New York Knicks. He's the voice of the NBA, the legend, Mike Breen. Mike, it's 85 degrees. The flowers are blooming. Does it like trigger mid-April every year? I mean, you've been doing the playoffs for forever, but do you get like that spidey sense like it's go time?
Oh, absolutely. It's my favorite time of the year. And having the play-in games be so exciting, the first two on opening night, it's the best. And especially the way, there's so much, parity's the wrong word, but there's so many different teams that have a chance to either win a championship or go far in the playoffs. It just makes it the best. I can't wait to get going.
So we will mention, of course, one of those teams that I believe has a chance to go and get it done. They obviously have a lot of work to do within the Eastern Conference. But, Mike, I know you spoke on this, and I have to now lament as somebody that watches your coverage on MSG with Clyde all the time. And don't get me wrong, I love you, Legs and RJ. You guys do fabulous, fabulous work. Iron Eagle's my guy. I love him and Van Gundy. But there's something special about, hey, that first round, I'm getting my guys. I'm getting Mike when he comes back from doing a national game. I know I'm getting Clyde. I know I'm getting the studio guys. And I know we're going to get pre- and post coverage on MSG. But it's a bummer, man, to not have our local team, at least for round one. Like last year, you're doing the Detroit series. I'm getting a double bang for DiVincenzo. For round one, I'm going to miss that, Mike.
No, I appreciate that. I think all fans do. It's one of the reasons why we love our teams. We in many cases fall in love with the local announced teams, and it's unfortunate. I'm hoping at some point maybe a little compromise can be made, but right now it's the way it is. And I'm sorry not doing it with Clyde. I love sitting watching Clyde. So I agree with you. I feel the same way about baseball. I'm a huge Met fan. And you
don't get Gary. Gary's miserable when we see him at SNY because he wants to be at the ballpark, Mike. You know, that'd be like you in the studio. Come on now.
But it's the way the business has gone. So that's the way of the world.
Okay. So I didn't have on my bingo card a few weeks ago Mike Breen getting aggregated all over social media for the very innocent comment that I think you made right after the Bulls game, which, by the way, is completely spot on. As someone that does content, Mike, I can attest, and you did the games, you had to be there every step along the way. We would get to a point the end of last decade where February, March, April, the Knicks are an afterthought. You're talking lottery, you're talking draft. There's nothing of significance to talk about when it comes to the team because of just how rotten and how miserable they have been. So you bring up the idea that, yes, this franchise has come a long way. There's no question about it. And you did hit on the fact that, yeah, it's okay for somebody like myself to look at the expectations and say, I want to get to the NBA Finals or I'm going to view this season as a disappointment. But, like, could you believe that comment was Stephen A? I feel like I'm seeing it like in Instagram graphics. Mike Breen, usually you get aggregated for bang. Didn't expect that.
Yeah, well, I think some people misunderstood what I was trying to say. It was really because I was talking to the Knicks fan that had been through all of it. And it's like, wow, can you believe that we've come from where the Knicks were to now it's a disappointment if they don't get to the finals? That's a wonderful place to be. It wasn't like, giving them a pass or anything like that. It would be a disappointment if the Knicks don't make the finals. But the point was, look how far in a short time that they've come, where the highlight of the season would be like, hey, we got a good spot in the lottery, or hey, we're actually going to get into the first round of the playoffs, to the point where the Knicks are a legitimate championship contender. And for those fans that went through all those dark years, and there were a lot of them, that's who I was addressing at that. And it's like, wow, can you appreciate how far this team has come?
Now, you have this unique perspective because you're around the team day in and day out. You saw all of the games last year. You called a bunch of them in the regular season and in the postseason. And now we're getting ready for this year's playoff run. So just looking back on last year's regular season, where the Knicks won 50-something games and they found themselves as a number 3 seed in the Eastern Conference, to where we are this year, Mike Breen, where, yes, the Knicks go and win 50-something games. They win a game more than they did a year ago. And once again, they're the number 3 seed within the Eastern Conference. Any noticeable difference, other than the head coach, of course, from what you saw last year to what you've seen this year?
Yeah, it's interesting because there are a lot of people, and you forget what last year was like, that felt maybe last year was a better regular season. They were a better team. I don't agree with that. They were probably a little more up and down this year than they were last year, but there were stretches of this season where you really felt, okay, they can really legitimately win the whole thing. I don't know if people thought that during the regular season last year. As the season went on, and then with the playoff success after beating Boston, all bets are off. But this year, they had a higher offensive rating. They had in terms of where they rank in the league, they had a better defensive rating. And their record against winning teams was much, much better than last year. I thought this year's top performances might have been better than last year's top performances. The only thing was that there were a couple of valleys to go with the peaks this year that maybe question it. But I think, JJ, the whole thing is expectations are different, and it changes the way you view the highs and lows, the ebb and flow of a season. And I think that was the reason why sometimes during the course of this year, they were like, oh, man, are they going to be able to do what we hoped they were going to be able to do? And it's all because of the expectations.
So I'm right there with you as far as the look and the feel of the team because, hey, this is a team that went and beat San Antonio, who's one of the best teams in the league, multiple times. They go to Denver, which is one of the toughest places to play in the NBA, and they wipe the floor with the Denver Nuggets, and the Joker is on the floor. Like, that level, Mike, didn't see that as much in the regular season last year, but you know this and I know this. It's unfair for this group, but they are really going to be judged on what they do in the next 6 to 8 weeks. Hopefully it's longer than that. And that's why, like, people get nuts about, like, hey, matchup. They're going to, at some point, I assume, play the Celtics and play the Pistons. More than likely. Not a given, but more than likely. And they played really well against Boston this regular season. They didn't play so well against Detroit. But last year, Mike, they played terribly against Boston. They beat them in 6 games. So, like, that sort of litmus test of matchups, do you put a lot of stock in, like, when you're getting ready for a playoff series saying, wow, this team dominated another in the regular season? Or do you say, hey, it's playoff time, throw it out the window, it means absolutely nothing?
Right. Once the regular season is over, done. And what you said, they will be judged strictly on what they did or what they will do come playoff time. But I think there are certain teams, I think I would put Cleveland in this. You know, Cleveland's had some great regular seasons and have fallen short of what their goals were in the playoffs. The Knicks, the same thing. Like last year, the thought was they're going to get to the finals last year, and they fell short of what they thought they were going to do. So the players know it. They know that, the Knicks could have won 65 games in the regular season. And if they lost in the second round in this year's playoffs, it's an unbelievable disappointment. The players know that. I think Cleveland, again, was in the same category where all that they're going to be judged on is their postseason success. And sometimes I think that leads to the highs and lows of the regular season. It's tough to get fired up every single night. And the teams that are able to do that, give them all the credit. But for a team like the Knicks, where they're going to be based solely on their playoff success, sometimes you're going to see those highs and lows. What gives me confidence about their possibilities in the playoffs is individually and team-wise, they've been able to raise their game come postseason time. Jalen Brunson has shown that he is such a clutch playoff performer. But Anunoby, Bridges, Towns, Karl-Anthony Towns has been a part of a team that's gone to the conference finals now 2 years in a row, one with Minnesota and one last year with the Knicks. And this team, they have that ability to raise their level. Now you add somebody like Mitchell Robinson, who also has had some unbelievable playoff performances. And it's a team that I think is made to succeed in postseason play.
I'm so glad you brought up the team aspect of this, Mike, because I think for me, the most encouraging thing that I saw over the last 3.5 weeks, and I know it's been well documented, this 2-man game between Brunson and Cat is, in my opinion, the best it's ever been. And there's something to be said for, hey, more rhythm, more games, more camaraderie, chemistry, everything that comes with it. Have you noticed that? Am I being delusional here? Am I trying to drink too much Nick Kool-Aid going into the postseason? But it does seem like I saw it in that Atlanta game. I saw it against the Celtics. I think it's an absolute must if they're going to get to the NBA Finals. Has that evolved from where it was at the beginning of this year to where it is at the end of the year?
Yeah, no question, JJ. And you can't underestimate the change in the coaching philosophy. And Mike Brown wanted to bring a more diverse offense in terms of ball movement, not as many set plays. And it was different than Tom Thibodeau's offense. And at times it worked, at times it didn't, but he changed it quite a bit. It's one of the, I think, it's one of the real strengths of Mike Brown. He's not afraid to change things. He's not afraid to try things. He's also not afraid to listen to players, his assistant coaches, very collaborative. And I think that was all part of the process of them getting comfortable with the new coach and what he wanted to accomplish and the way he wanted to run things. So from that standpoint, that's probably another reason why they had some highs and lows. But continuity is one of the most important reasons for a team's success. And let's face it, this is just the second year that this group is together. And sometimes it happens in year one, like Boston in 2008 when Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen came in. It just all clicked right away and they won the first year. But it doesn't happen all the time that way. So it takes a little time. And I think, for Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, they're obviously numbers 1 and 2. For them to win a championship this year, they need both of those players to be all NBA performers in the playoffs. They need those two to be stars. And it doesn't necessarily mean scoring 30 points a game. It means being engaged and being part of every single game, not being an afterthought here or there, as Karl Anthony Towns had some stretches during the regular season. So what you saw is exactly right. It's a continuity thing that every month, every week, every day, that they're getting more comfortable with each other. And we saw that especially with Brunson and Towns down the stretch.
Mike, you know this. You know the market better than anybody. There are certain guys that fit that polarizing description of talking points and debate for people like myself, for fans, and we have fun with it breaking down all of these games. I feel like the criticism of Cat has gone above and beyond. And don't get me wrong, I get frustrated with the silly fouls. I thought at the beginning of the year he was shooting the ball terribly, but I thought his defense got better as the year went on. The double-doubles, which he's basically leading the league in, there's something to be said for that. And I get it. He's not a homegrown Knick. I feel like the Knick fan immediately embraced Jalen Brunson because, hey, where the franchise was, what he does in year one, Cat kind of comes into more of a well-oiled machine. But I think this is a guy that's obviously needed, but he showed you in the playoffs, hey, Game 3 Indiana, they're down 2-0. He was great. They don't win the Detroit series without Cat, especially that Game 4. He was great in Game 3. Do you get the sense that the criticism from Knick fans, some Knick fans, not all, has been unfair when it comes to Cat?
Yeah, I do. And a couple of reasons, because his offensive struggles, and he did struggle offensively. He was out of sync. He wasn't in rhythm. And he talked about it a lot. And I thought he could have stopped talking about it and just go and try and play. But it never impacted his effort on the boards. And people forget, when you talk about a team defense, the last key item in a defensive possession is to grab that defensive rebound. And he is one of the elite rebounders in the game. And that never, his offensive woes or his offensive struggles or his offensive inactivity never impacted that. And I love that part about him, that he kept rebounding at such a high level night after night, even though he was at times not in rhythm in terms of shooting and the offensive schemes. But the defensive part is what I've been the most impressed with in the second half of the season. There's much more engagement. There's much more energy. He's really played some of the best defensive basketball I've ever seen. And that even goes back to when he played in Minnesota. So I think he's at second half of the season. I think he's had a terrific year. First half, again, there were offensive struggles, but he seems to be in rhythm and playing his best total basketball at the most important time right now.
So, Mike, you go back to guys in the 90s becoming household names for this sort of lunch pail type mentality they bring to the table. I could throw you a Kurt Thomas. I could throw you a Larry Johnson. If I want to go back to Charles Oakley, Anthony Mason, I can do that too. Knicks have two of those guys now. I mean, Mitchell Robinson, and I know there were frustrations about his ability to stay on the court. Mike, he just comes in. He's a winner. Like, there's no better way to say it. He makes great defensive plays. He's crashing the glass. He's a pain in the neck for the opponent. I love that. And then my guy Hart, who's my favorite on the team because he wears his emotions on his sleeve. He's trying to get the team out in the transition. And listen, his jump shot last year was a problem. I don't blame coaches like Rick Carlisle basically saying to Josh, go and knock down the outside shot. Hey, Mike, I'm not going to pretend that I know more basketball than Joe Mazzulla. He, the other night, you did the game, was basically like, okay, Josh, go and beat us. He did exactly that. Are you surprised the way his jump shot has kind of evolved back to maybe where it was when he came to Knicks, or even better than that? He's shooting the ball unbelievably well. Knicks need that. And how much do these guys, you know this, these blue-collar role players, like Josh Hart and Mitchell Robinson are going to be talked about. They're going to be sitting courtside at Madison Square Garden for the rest of their lives because of what they bring to this team. You know what I mean? Like, they're those guys. We remember.
No question. The Knicks, when they're playing at their highest level, Josh Hart is the catalyst. He just does so many things to help the team. I mean, you just go down the list of the intangibles, the rebounding to be able to start the break and get the pace going, the unselfishness, the defense. He just provides all that stuff. And you look at the games where the Knicks have played their best, he's right smack in the middle of it. He's the ultimate fingerprints guy. His fingerprints are on so many different aspects of the game. And I think that that's one of the things I loved what Mike Brown did. Early on in the season, he wasn't going to start him. And I know the starters' numbers, all these collective analysis about the starters' numbers aren't great, but they're at their best when he's in the midst of it all. Meanwhile, Mitchell Robinson, you credit the medical staff. They handle it beautifully. So he gets to play 60 games. Would you love to see him play more? Sure. But it doesn't matter now.
They need him now. Exactly, Mike.
Healthy,
they need him now.
And he's not going to have to play a single back-to-back. He is simply a game changer. He changes the game when he comes in. He changes what opponents can do against the Knicks. And that's at both ends of the floor because he's developed such great hands around the rim as a lob threat. It opens up the floor for everybody else when he's there because now the opposing big man can't leave him alone. They used to leave him alone. They can't leave him alone anymore. And he's also become such a smart player, too. So those two are exactly what you say. They're the blue-collar types that the Knicks fans love, and they're going to be vital for them to reach the goals they want to reach.
Mike, this rotation, that's always been a talking point going back to the Tibbs days. Who's playing off the bench? How many guys are playing off the bench? We've seen it evolve. Listen, Jordan Clarkson was in, and he's out. Now he's back in. You know Mike Brown loves Landry Shamet. I know a lot of it is matchup driven. So the Hawks series compared to what it might be in future series, who knows, could be drastically different. What's your feel on what Mike Brown will do from a rotation standpoint? 8 to 9 guys?
Yeah, he'll start with 9, and obviously McBride is vital and was having that great season. Seemed to get a little bit of rhythm the last couple of games, so he's going to be there. McBride, Clarkson, Shamet, who has also gotten the trust not only of Mike Brown but the trust of his teammates, and then Mitchell Robinson. But I guarantee you, on a long playoff run, Jose Alvarado is going to play huge minutes in a game and help them win a game. I also think Mo Diawara is going to be called upon, whether it's foul trouble, whether it's guy tweaks an ankle. I think those two also, they won't see consistent minutes, at least to start, but they'll get big minutes in a big moment and will help the team win again because having that trust in those guys and the fact that they all played big fourth quarter minutes during the course of the regular season, it's not like the first time they're going to be thrown out there, is going to give a lot of options for Mike Brown, depending on the matchup.
So it's the Hawks in round 1. No Trae Young. You don't have to worry about that. But the Hawks have played better without him. I mean, they went 18-2. They had this unbelievable stretch. They played a real feisty game against the Knicks a couple of Mondays ago. What's the scariest aspect, in your opinion, of what Atlanta brings to a 7-game series?
Their defense. They're a really good defensive team. Daniels is one of the elite defenders. And Jalen Johnson, he's a full-fledged star. But now it's a playoff without Trae Young. And in the final minutes of a big playoff game, the ball was always in his hands. And he certainly had the capabilities of who can take and make a big game-winning shot. Now they've got to figure out who's going to be that person for them. I think the most under-the-radar acquisition during the course of the regular season was C.J. McCollum. McCollum, when he played in Portland, obviously overshadowed by Dame Lillard. but McCollum was a big-time playoff performer. He had some great playoff stretches, and he's a guy the Knicks have to be really worried about because he's going to be on the court crunch time, and he might be the guy that takes the big shot for them down the stretch.
So, Mike, when I had you on right before the start of the year, I asked you, what is going to be the difference for this Knicks group to get over the hump and finally get to the NBA Finals? And we talked about this together aspect. We talked about this team aspect, playing as one collective unit. I've said it throughout the year. As much as I love Jalen Brunson, Knicks are at their best when he's not scoring 35 to 40 points. And you're seeing that starting five all find their way in double figures. Is that still the biggest key for this Knicks group if they're going to get through Atlanta and then maybe Boston or Detroit or Cleveland, whatever it might be? Is it that cohesive playing as five?
Well, you saw last year in the Indiana series, Rick Carlisle's whole defensive game plan was to not let Jalen Brunson beat them. And they had the athletes to double team him time and time again. Atlanta has that. Boston has that. And we've seen down the last third of the regular season, Jalen Brunson's assist numbers have skyrocketed. He was averaging close to 10 assists per game down the stretch of the regular season. And again, that's all part of the growth and the trust in the players, and that now he knows if it's double team, he doesn't have to bring the ball up all the time, make it harder to double team him. Or at the end of games, you saw him down the end of games find other players who made some of the big shots down the stretch. He's still the guy you want taking the big shot, but the fact now that there are other threats and they've been used down the stretch, and the way Brunson has been a playmaker, now defenses, it's not going to be as easy for them just say, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to stop him, because his confidence and his trust in his teammates now, I think, is probably at an all-time high. Mike,
final one. You're going to be calling a lot of basketball over the next few weeks. I'm not going to have you make a prediction on who's going to win the championship, but I want you from an announcer perspective. Let's take the Knicks out of it. Obviously, we want you doing as many Knicks games as possible. Who are we kidding? We want you doing the NBA Finals, and the Knicks are there. But if there is one potential matchup that Mike Breen has thought about, maybe it's in the second round, maybe it's in the conference finals, where he's like, man, I really want to do these two teams matching up come playoff time. Who would it be?
Well, a Knicks-Celtic rematch, if it happens in the second round, would be spectacular.
Electric.
A Knicks-Piston rematch, and that would have to happen in the conference finals because of the way in such a short time. Last year's first round playoff series was so intense. Every possession mattered. There were games that could have gone either way. Several games. Pistons weren't that far off from winning that series, but the Knicks made all the big plays at the right time. So that would be great in the Eastern Conference. And then, for them to face anybody, to get to the finals, it wouldn't matter who they face.
I was going to say, you get Joker, SGA, Wemby, sign me up.
Right.
I mean,
for a Knicks fan, just to have them back in the finals would be, obviously would be such a special time. But this team has the capabilities of doing it. They've got that grit to them. They're more connected now than they were certainly early in the season, and they've got an all-time clutch performer who can help lead them there. So the possibilities are there for a special run.
Mike Breen, voice of the Knicks, voice of the NBA. We'll be watching. Hopefully get through this first round with relative ease, and we have Breen back at the Garden for the second round, the Knicks Celtics. We like the sound of that, okay?
That would be fun. Although it's not going to be easy. The first round, this is going to be a tough first round matchup.
Totally agree. Mike,
thanks, JJ.
Go kill it, man. Thanks for a couple minutes. We appreciate you.
All right, bud.